Dubai real estate market, isn't it sound like a fantastic opportunity to have uncapped income and have all of this Ferraris and skyscrapers, and girls in bikinis all over you? Well, if you're still Googling on how to become a real estate agent, if you're still Googling on how to become a real estate agent in Dubai, or you're someone who already arrived here and maybe transacting for the first time or maybe second time or maybe been in business for a year, still struggling to understand how all of these other agents are actually closing multiple deals and why I am not able to do that. You already maybe have some listings on the portal. Hopefully you watched a couple of my videos before, but you still don't understand how to convince the sellers to actually put the price down. And the method that you use with all of the showing them the market data, look at the latest transaction that happened, and trying to convince them that the other people are listing in the lower price does not work. In this specific video, I'm going to break down the step-by-step strategy on how to convince the seller to decrease price on his own without you doing anything. How to make him basically sell himself that he needs to have a lower price. By the way, this is video number 3. If you haven't seen the previous one, stop right now and click to the first one. You have to start from the beginning. Anyway, by the way, if you stumble on this video, just me, who am I? My name is Olga Sinenko, and I am since 2015 selling Dubai real estate as an agent. And since 2020, I am teaching, mentoring, and coaching real estate agent and sales teams on how to not only make a lot of money, but create a stable career progression. So you will be living in this paradise as long as you want to. Get ready with a pen and paper, and let's jump to the video. Guys, that's what's happening. Okay, listing with a contract. Now you can go live on Property Finder, do Bizzle, Bayut, and you can start generating the actual buyers. Hopefully, if you price correctly, and you're not taking from desperation over price listings, which are going to be there with generating zero interest for you. Then, for you to make this property actually interesting for the buyers, you have to do what? Consistently, since you got the listing. Which procedure you have to do? Price reduction, guys.
Okay.
Price reduction. Because guess what, Mr. Client? I know you see the property on the portal, which is listed by 2.4, and you think if you're going to list your for 2.4, 2.5, you're going to have so much people begging on your door. But let me ask you, Mr. Client, why do you think this apartment is still on the portal? Why do you think it's still advertised? 2.4? Why do you think it's still advertised? Exactly. Because probably the price is not right. As no one is able to pay the price. So when you get the listing, I do not recommend, and I'm not saying specifically for the new joiners, to start doing the price reduction from the word-go. The communication should be following, and I'm just going to give you a brief thing for you to understand overall. Then we're going to go deep into each stage of it. Which price, Mr. Seller, you're thinking to list your property for? Oh, it's listed with other agent, whatever, but which price do you think we have to go in the market? Oh, it's, let's say, 2.4. Yeah, okay, but just for me to make it very clear, you have all of the rights to list the property with any price that you want. You're the owner of the property in the end of the day. What I'm doing right now, I'm removing the resistance. I'm telling him, yeah, you're right, you can list the property with just any price that you want. But let me ask you this, Mr. Client, who is in the end of the day gonna define for how much of property will be sold? Who that gonna be? Is that gonna be a seller?
Buyer.
Thank you, Sergey. It's always gonna be a buyer, right? Well, you can list it whatever you want, but the property actually worth as much as someone is ready to pay for it.
If you think it's worth 2.4, I completely appreciate it. But if it's been on the market for 3 months, well, no one is ready to pay that price. So what do you think the market is trying to communicate us? Again, guys, you see, I'm using this. What do you think the market is trying to communicate us? I'm not saying I want you to remove the price, to put the price down, right? I'm talking about the market because that's true. It's not me. I mean, I can force people. I handcuff them and bring into your property. For me to be able to advertise a property properly and show that and make sure that the maximum amount of buyers in the area will come and see your property, which tools, Mr. Seller, you have to give into my hands, rather than the marketing tools that I already have. And then I go to the next stage. So I told him, he agreed with me, or he told me that's what I want him to say. Oh, well, then eventually it's going to be a buyer who will define the price the property is sold. And I was like, yeah, well, fair enough. You see, I'm not telling him anything. Fair enough. And just in your mind, again, just in your mind, I'm not telling you stuff, just in your mind. Just in your mind, how, for example, do you shop yourself for anything? For a car, for a property? How do you shop? What you do yourself when you, for example, you're telling me that you want to move to a different area. How would you look for a property? What would you do? I'm waiting for him to tell me. I'm not telling him that he's going to go on the portals and do. No, I want him to tell me. Why? Because I want him change his way of thinking. I want him to walk this way with me. If I'm going to tell him stuff, he's never going to change his way of thinking. He's just going to start boxing me into whatever I want to say is wrong because I'm a salesperson. I have a commission breath. Of course I want to put the price lower. I want it to be his decision. And I was like, yeah, well, how do you shop yourself? Oh, well, I'm just go online, I'm just filter this one, parameters. Yeah, and let's, for example, you find 2 properties which are matching your requirements. What are you going to do then? Oh, then I'm going to look at the price. Do I want him to tell me that? Yes. Guess where I'm leading him, guys? You know where I'm leading him? You don't know. Okay, do the following. Oh, I'm just going to look at the price. We're like, well, it makes sense. And when you're going to look at the price, I'm not buying it. I want him to go deeper and tell himself more. And when you're going to look at the price, what exactly are you going to be looking at? Oh, the cheapest possible price, of course. I was like, well, potentially. But how would you define that there's actually a fair price for the piece of property? I will look at the others and I will choose, this one, and I will choose the cheapest one, which is relevant, having the same features. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, well, so would that be fair to say that other properties which are priced higher going to help that seller who is priced exactly right sell his property? He's going to, yeah, because you have other property to consider, right? So there is other 3 properties which is 2.5 and just one is 2.4. So which property going to be sold?
Cheapest one.
Cheapest one. And what other property is going to do? Help this property to sell, nothing else. So having this in mind, would that be fair to say that other people who are going to come to look at your property are going to have similar mindset, Mr. Client? Potentially? I don't know. What do you think? Oh yeah, of course they're going to have the similar mindset. So what do you want us to start, Mr. Seller? Do you want us to start from the position that we are helping other properties to be sold? Which is, it's up to you, as I told you. You are the one who is determining which price you want to list your property. Or do you want to start from the position when we're going to have all the potential buyers on the market? They're all going to be qualified and they're going to be all pulled by our advertisement into your property. And guess what? If you're going to have all of the people looking for the same unit walk through your apartment is lovely, right? What do you think they want to feel and think after? There is a lot of people, there is a lot of traffic, there is lots of viewing. Potentially we're going to have viewing one after another, right? Because people, they want to view models at the same time. So when the other one buyer is going to see another buyer, what are you going to feel? If you were in this position, what you're going to feel? So then, eventually what is happening, and that's why, I'm just telling you a different perspective, we're going to have a multiple offers simultaneously. And then, if we're going to have the multiple offers, what do you think we will be able to do, Mr. Client? beat them against each other, and we're going to get you the price. But it's up to you to decide where do you want to start. But let me ask you this. If the price of your property would be already predetermined, when do you want to know that? Do you want to know it in 6 years, 6 months, or now? Taking in consideration that the one who is determining the price is whom? The buyer. What if the price would be already predetermined? When do you want to know it? Do you want to know it now, or do you want it in 6 months? What's the seller going to tell me? Now. Look, Mr. Seller, again, if you want, we can start where you want it, and then, let's say in your mind, when do you think, if we will see that the market reaction is not what we want it to be, when do you think we have to sit down and have this conversation one more time? You're going to say, oh, well, let's have this conversation in 2 weeks. Fair enough, let's have it in 2 weeks. His decision. He wants to have a conversation in 2 weeks. I change his way of thinking now with this loop. You see it? Was it powerful, guys? So price reduction starts when you take in the listing. If you don't have this conversation, it's going to be so tough for you. If you don't have this conversation, the early doors, most probably you're going to drag this listing forward, and that's going to be sold by someone else. And if you're afraid, as many agents, that the seller going to say, oh, Olga, I cannot do that. I just have to be a nice, good boy who is telling the seller only what he wants to hear. Because the other agents, you know what the other agents are telling him? That his property price should be higher. And I was like, yeah, fantastic. Just be upfront with him. And say, yeah, well, Mr. Seller, I do believe that there are other agents of the market who are going to literally just tell you what you want to hear about the price of your property just to get this property for the listing. This is a little bit not what I do, because I'm not in the business of collecting listings which are not possible to sell. I'm in the business helping the seller sell the home at the highest possible price. That's why I have a strategy for you. But it's up to you to decide. But if you allow me, I want to be honest and upfront for you. What would you prefer? Okay, so what we just did, we just killed all of this agent who is telling him that his property is worth more. Right?